The Houston Rockets have now officially signed Fred VanVleet to a new contract. Are they all geared up and ready to go to contend in the Western Conference? We'll talk a little bit about that. Plus, the Nets are reportedly eyeing a draft day trade with the 76ers. We got a little intel on that one. And also, the Raptors are offering the 9th pick in the draft to try to get Derrick White. We're going to talk about all that and more right after this.
Welcome to the #1 place for your daily basketball news and analysis, NBA Central.
What's going on, basketball fans? Welcome to another episode of NBA Central, your #1 spot for everything basketball related. I'm the host, Derrick Hayes, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at NBA Central Pod on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go and get into this content for today, y'all. So we found out yesterday that the Houston Rockets were going to decline Fred VanVleet's contract in hopes to sign him to a new longer-term deal. He now signs a $50 million contract over 2 years with the Houston Rockets. This comes out from Shams, who says this: Houston Rockets guard Fred VanVleet intends to sign a 2-year, $50 million contract to stay with the franchise. With a player option in the 2026-27 season, the Rockets are declining Fred VanVleet's $44.9 million team option to land a new deal with Clutch Sports' Rich Paul. And that's what it comes down to. Listen, I think this was all but academic. Once they traded for Kevin Durant, it makes sense to keep Fred VanVleet there, a point guard who operated that system before Kevin Durant and can now do it after Kevin Durant. You want to keep veterans there, the communication there, all those things. I think that's going to help. That you need that veteran presence. You lost a little bit of that with Dillon Brooks, of course. You re-signed Steven Adams. You now have locked in Fred VanVleet. You've traded for Kevin Durant. You now have a solid veteran core to go along with your young core to help support them as you're trying to contend in the Western Conference. Fred VanVleet last season, 14 points, 5.6 assists, 3.7 rebounds, 1.6 steals as well per game last season with Houston. And you look at what he's done before. He's an NBA champion before. He's a former All-Star. So you lock in him as your veteran. I don't think that that's a bad sign at all. I think that the Houston Rockets are clearly showing that their hope is to be a contender in that West. And you have teams that are fans that don't necessarily think that they've reached or achieved that level with the trades that they've made so far. But I think that they're going to really be making some noise in the Western Conference next year. Over 50-win team this year. You've added some offense that you drastically need. You've kept all your young pieces. You've now locked in key veterans. Now, the only, I think, a remainder part of business is, are they going to sign Kevin Durant to a contract extension? Reportedly, Kevin Durant did not want to be a one-year rental in any place that he goes. What is that extension going to look like for Kevin Durant? Is it going to be 2 years? Is it going to be more than that? I think that's what you're looking at for this next wave to see what the Houston Rockets do. But other than that, the Rockets have really locked themselves in. They've made moves. We kind of now know what they're going to be. They may have some couple of more moves coming, but I think overall, we're seeing the Houston Rockets are probably going to now keep what they have here going forward, build off that going into the season, and hope that they've added the right scoring punch that they've needed to balance themselves out and keep their defense good enough as well. The biggest question that I have for the Houston Rockets is players like Jabari Smith, Cam Whitmore, right? Of course, Amen Thompson, but that goes without saying. But how do these guys step up now with having Kevin Durant on the team, and what does he do for guys like that, especially Cam Whitmore with his scoring punch? If they do make another move, that may be the player that they do move is Cam Whitmore. He's going to have a lot of attention around the league for what he's able to do offensively, the upside that he has offensively with still being a very young player. So I guess we'll see what happens with that going forward. But let me know, with the Houston Rockets now re-signing VanVleet and the next order of business probably being to get Kevin Durant a contract extension, how confident do you feel about the Houston Rockets and their ability to contend in the Western Conference next season? But reportedly with that is that the Brooklyn Nets reportedly have a draft day trade with the 76ers or Hornets, trying to figure out what they can do to get Ace Bailey. Reportedly, we've heard that the Brooklyn Nets also are a team that could be in on Paul George. They're willing to take back his contract if it means getting them the pick that they can get to get Ace Bailey. They're loading now with 5 first-round picks in this draft at 8, 19, 22, 26, 27, right? And so it seems like they've been calling a lot of teams in the top 5 to try to trade up between San Antonio, Philly, and the Charlotte Hornets. These are the teams that they're reaching out to get trades done. And reportedly, Paul George was seen in Brooklyn as well, maybe even doing some home shopping. That's probably more than likely just a rumor, but it does seem like they are interested. The Nets have a number of prospects on their board between Harper, Trey Johnson, Jeremiah Fears, Con Knuppel, and Ace Bailey are all players that they are very well interested in if they can move up. They have the assets as far as draft capital to entice teams to trade back and try to get who they can, and we'll see what happens there. They are trying to acquire another or move up in this draft. It is the day of the draft. We may not find this out until the draft actually happens, but keep your guys' ears to the ground because things are coming really fast here in this offseason and in this day leading into the draft. And I would not be surprised at all if the Brooklyn Nets make a move on draft day to move up and get a guy that they have penciled in that maybe they want to draft and don't want to wait to where they pick at to try to move up. Let me know down below. Do you think the Brooklyn Nets and their willingness reportedly to take Paul George back in a deal, if it means moving up in the draft, is that enough? And would that make sense for a team like the Philadelphia 76ers, for example? Do they want to throw more draft picks at the wall, considering they are still trying to compete and contend with having Paul George, with having Joel Embiid, that they still, well, they wouldn't have Joel Embiid in this time, but they still want to put a team together with, I mean, they wouldn't have Paul George, but they still trying to put a team together with Joel Embiid there that can compete now, but apparently they're open. And what I've said they should be doing for a while, be open to going younger. Have a team that's young, that you're developing a young core. And if Joel Embiid's healthy, great. You can take it off over the top. But if not, you still have something there that you can build around if and when you need to pivot off of Joel Embiid. And I think that's really what this Philadelphia 76ers team should be looking to do at this point in where they are. But again, we'll see what Daryl Morey has planned. We do know that he is not somebody that's afraid to make a controversial move. So we'll see what happens there going forward. With that said, as well, the Raptors are reportedly trying to get Derrick White. Now, the Boston Celtics reportedly did not want to move off of Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Derrick White, or really more of their core players. Their main goal was to get under that second tax apron, which they now have done. But according to league sources, that the Toronto Raptors are emerging as a real suitor for Derrick White, so much so that they are including their 9th overall pick in a run to try to get Derrick White to that team. Apparently, the Raptors think they're a lot closer than what I do. Derrick White, 30 years old. He has 4 years left on his contract and will make $28.1 million next season. But with the Celtics, now, they're basically taking a gap year. I do think they're still, even without Jason Tatum, they're still going to be a really tough team in that Eastern Conference. But, they've already cut considerable salary to get under the second tax apron. Are they now looking to, maybe even go a little bit further with it and stack more assets? The 9th overall pick in this draft would be really enticing. It gives you a cost-controlled contract and something that if you really still want to build this core around Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown and they're over $50 million contracts, if you can get really nice young players on rookie scale deals to get that done, that'll be something to watch and look out for. This one does come from Brett Siegel as well. Now, we'll see what happens when it comes down to that. I don't know if they do move off Derrick White. Maybe it's more of a trade deadline thing if they do. But with them offering right now the 9th overall pick, it may be enough to entice the Boston Celtics to be willing to move Derrick White. Let me know what you guys think on that one down below. Last thing before we get out of here, the Atlanta Hawks reportedly have one more big move now after getting Kristaps Porzingis, and that is they're considering a sign and trade for Nickeil Alexander-Walker with the Minnesota Timberwolves, who were in the Kevin Durant sweepstakes. They did not get him. They have a number of players that they have to make decisions on. Naz Reid, Julius Randle, Nickeil Alexander-Walker is one of those guys. With them having Terrence Shannon Jr., who did step up in a couple of playoff games for them, they may be willing to move off Nickeil Alexander-Walker, even though TSJ is more of an offensive player. Nickeil Alexander is a player that can shoot the three, but is more of a defensive mind. It would be the Atlanta Hawks trying to add more defense to this. This comes from Mark Stein of the Stein line, of course, that they are considering that. And we'll see what happens when it comes down to that. I think the Atlanta Hawks are in a unique place where they could be fully ready to go in and take advantage of a weaker season in the Eastern Conference with teams taking a hit. And especially if the Boston Celtics do trade Derrick White and they take another hit and step back, you never know what's going to happen there. So the Atlanta Hawks seem to be keeping their head on a pivot to see what they can get back in all of these deals. And we'll see if they net something successful out of it. But let me know what you guys think on that down below. Do you think that it makes sense for the Atlanta Hawks to try to go after Nickeil Alexander-Walker in a sign-and-trade scenario with the money this offseason and try to pry him away from the Minnesota Timberwolves? Do you think it could get a little bit too rich if they decide to do that as well? Keep in mind, sign-and-trades, you don't typically get a lot back in sign-and-trades. And so maybe that's what the Atlanta Hawks are also betting on. But let me know what you guys think on all that down below. What do you think do you think what the Atlanta Hawks are doing and how they're going about their offseason is going to put them in a position to really make a run in the Eastern Conference and avoid the play-in finally? Let me know what you guys think on all that down below. That's my time for today, guys. Make sure you guys are following us at NBA Central Pod. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, NBA Central Show at gmail.com. And then lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We're the number one spot for everything basketball related, and we'll see you guys tonight for the NBA draft. We'll be live on the channel. The event's already set. Make sure you guys come in, kick it with us at the watch party. Love you guys. Peace, y'all.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.